Most people think they have a vision for their future, but they actually don't. They've got a list of the things they're running away from. I've been doing this work for over a decade now. NLP trained, 20 years in sales, even prior to that, and I've sat across from so many different leaders and coaches, executives, former Olympic athletes, who all had the very same thing in common. They're not moving towards something that they want. They're moving away from something that they're scared of. And that difference, that one distinction, is the reason why they can't sustain their momentum. It's the reason that the vision keeps collapsing around them. It's the reason that no matter how hard they work, something always feels off. So today, I'm going to break that down for you. This is what most people think this is about. They think motivation is the problem, or a mindset, or even discipline. So they'll do their journaling, they'll do their affirmations. They might even create a vision board and start working on that. They'll write down their goals in a nice notebook and then wonder why 6 months later, nothing has changed. But here's what's actually happening. In NLP, we talk about two different types of motivation. There's away from motivation and there's towards motivation. Away from motivation means you're moving because something hurts, because you're scared, because you don't want to end up in a certain way. It's reactive and it's fueled by fear. Towards means you're moving because something is genuinely pulling you forward, a vision, a life that you want to create. It's proactive and it's fueled by desire. The problem is that most people's vision is actually an away from goal, which is in disguise. Like, I want to make 6 figures. Sounds great, but the translation is, I'm actually scared of never having enough money. Or I want to build my own business. That's awesome, but the translation could be, I can't stand working for someone else anymore. Or I want to get healthy, which could be translated into, I'm actually terrified of what would happen if I don't get healthy. Now, away from motivation works for a while. When the fear is loud enough, yeah, it'll get you up and it'll get you moving, but it has a ceiling. That moment of pain eases off just a little, and then so does the fuel, and you wonder why you keep stalling. So what's the cost to you, personally, when you're building a life from an away from position? It's not just about inconsistent momentum. It's that you can never really feel good about the things that you actually achieve. Because every win is measured by fear, and fear always comes back in the end. You'll hit your revenue goal, and you'll immediately think something like, yeah, but what if it doesn't last? Or you build the business, and then you immediately think, but what if it fails now? You might get healthy, and then immediately think, yeah, but what if I end up slipping back into my old habits? Because away from goals, they can't be won. They can only be maintained. And over time, that exhausts people. You're doing all the right things on the surface, you're working hard, you're showing up every single day, but inside there's a quiet desperation running underneath because you're not building something. You're just trying not to lose. When I'm working with a client and this type of thing has come up, this is how I explain it to them. It's called the direction trap, and it has 3 different layers. The first layer is the surface, and this is what you see. So you're not reaching your goals, okay? You're not hitting your targets, you're not reaching your goals, or you reach them, but you immediately feel this emptiness inside. Or you're working constantly, but you can't shake this background noise of anxiety about the future. Like, you look busy, you're doing all the things, you look like you're moving, but it just doesn't feel right. And the second layer is the reality. And so this is what's actually happening underneath. This is when you're running from something and not towards something else. Your goals are written in more of a negative type of language. Like, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stuck in this job anymore. I don't want to feel a certain way anymore. And your unconscious mind, because it doesn't process negatives well, it keeps pulling you back to the things that you're actually trying to run away from. So here's a quick test, which I would do with all of my clients. If I asked you right now, what do you want? And your first instinct is to describe what you're trying to avoid or what you don't want anymore, what you're trying to run away from. That's the direction trap. Then the third layer is the breakthrough, and this is what changes everything. A towards goal, something you're moving towards, doesn't just describe the thing that you want. It makes you feel something. It pulls you towards it, and the difference is palpable. When you shift from, I don't want to be stressed about money anymore, to, I want finances to be abundant and flowing, something literally shifts inside the body. Your posture changes, your face changes, you light up, and that's not all woo-woo rah-rah, that's just your neurology. Because towards goals, they give you something to move to. Away from goals just give you something to escape from. So let me share something with you which happened in a real session recently. I worked with a client recently. We did a 2-hour intensive coaching session with her, and she's a coach. She's been 3 years into a business, incredibly capable, single mum, and she's the type of person that literally lights up the room when she comes in, and she's had people tell her that before. But she came to me saying that she has a comparison problem where she's constantly measuring herself against other people in her industry, even in social groups she's part of, and she makes her feel behind, like she's behind everyone else. She's not in the position that everyone else is in, and she feels like she hasn't made any right decisions in her life. So we started talking about her vision, and I asked her, as I do with everyone, what do you want? And she described it beautifully. She described a thriving business, an e-course reaching thousands of young adults, working 25 hours a week, traveling and having a fantastic team around her. And then I asked her about money. And she said to me, I don't want to be worried about money anymore. And that's where I had to stop her, because I recognized the away from goal. And so I said to her, instead of being worried about money, what do you want instead? My intention was to reframe it into a towards goal. But on her end, she went silent. She had to think about it. And then finally, after she thought about it and dug down deep inside, she said, I want to feel grateful. I want to feel grateful that my finances are abundant. And that right there was the shift. That was the first time she had allowed herself to think differently from an away from goal towards a more compelling future, towards a goal that moves her forward, pulls her in the direction rather than holding her back from something that she's trying to run away from. And it was at that moment I noticed something shift in her face when she said it, because for the first time in about an hour and a half of talking to her, she wasn't describing an escape anymore. She was describing what she actually wanted to walk into, to move towards. That's the power of what I'm talking about. And you know what? I get it, because I run this same type of pattern myself. I've noticed it when I show up in my business. I thought I had my vision clear in what I was doing, to build a successful coaching practice, to create impact and do the work that really matters and what fills me full of passion and really lights me up. But when I'm being brutally honest with myself, I realize, that especially in the beginning, that a good portion of that time when I first started, what was really driving me was, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go backwards to how things used to be. I don't want to go backwards to how I used to think and how I used to feel and how I used to show up. I didn't want to go back to stressing about money and not having enough. And for me, that was my away from. It was just very nicely dressed up in towards type of language. And the work that I had to do, look, it wasn't quick, it took time, but the work I had to do was to figure out what I actually wanted instead. Not what I was escaping or not what I was trying to run away from, but what I was genuinely building towards now. And the moment that became clearer, everything got easier. The decisions got easier. The consistency became easier. My motivation became flourishing. Because I wasn't outrunning something anymore. I was moving towards it happily. So if this is resonating with you and you're feeling like, or you look at your goals and you're like, you know what? I think all of my goals are actually me just trying to run away from something. This is how you make this shift. And it's 3 very simple steps. First of all, step 1, we've got to audit your language. We've got to change the way you're saying things to yourself and other people. So write down your top 3 goals right now. It doesn't matter what they are, how big they are, how small they are. But what are your top 3 goals right now? And write them down. Then read them back and just ask yourself, am I describing something that I actually want? Or is this something that I'm really trying to avoid? Like, have you written down, I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be broke anymore. Or are you writing down, I want to feel at peace? Or I want to be abundant with all my finances? Because that language really matters and your unconscious mind is always listening. Once you've done that, the next step is to rewrite your goals in a more positive language. For every away from goal that you've got there, just flip it. Not just the words, but also the feeling as well. There's a really powerful question that you can ask yourself here. And this is something I'd ask my own clients. If I wasn't afraid of that thing anymore, whatever it is for you, if I wasn't afraid of that thing anymore, what would I actually want instead? Then write that down, because that is now your new towards goal. That's now what you're actually building towards. Then finally, for the last step, it's time to test it in your body. Read your away from goal out loud and just notice how it feels in the body. Just take a moment and really notice it. Be aware of what's happening in your body when you say that away from goal out loud. Then read your towards goal out loud and notice the difference. How does that feel in comparison to the away from goal? If the towards version of your goal creates a pull, a sense of wanting to lean into it, to feeling compelled to go towards it, then you've got it right. But if it still feels a bit flat, then you got to dig deeper. Dig down a bit deeper and find out what you truly want. It can be a hard question to ask sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little bit of help from someone else or having someone just be there with you. But dig deeper, because if it's still flat, then the goal's not compelling enough just yet. What's really cool is when you go through those steps, there's something that most people don't expect, because the shift doesn't take months. It can happen in a single conversation. I've watched it happen with my clients in real time, many times over, across different industries, different roles, different people. In that one single session with my client before, she went from describing her vision in negatives and away froms to landing on finances are abundant. And all that happened in one single session, and putting herself in a position where she was ready to dig deep and be asked those questions and then find the answer. Because the first thing you'll notice, it's not the result, it's the feeling, it's the lightness when you've made the shift. Like something has stopped pulling against you, something has stopped holding you back. Now that's the signal you found a real towards goal. And the actions don't necessarily change immediately, but the energy behind them does. And that's what sustains it long term. So this is what I want you to do today, is just take 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes out of your day and write down those 3 most important goals that we spoke about in the other steps. Then read them back to yourself and ask yourself these questions. Is this vision something I'm being pulled towards, or is it a fear that I'm running away from? Then ask yourself, if I remove the fear today, right now, what would I actually want instead? Then lastly, when I read my goal out loud, does it pull me forward? Or does it just remind me of something that I'm scared of? Now, if you're sitting on something right now, maybe it's a business that's stalled. Maybe it's goals that you just keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping, or trying to change because you keep starting and stopping. Maybe it's a vision that feels right, but it won't move. Then this is the exact work that I do. And if you're open to a conversation, I'm more than happy to make some time for you. There is a link in the description and you can book in a time and we can just have a chat. No sales tactics, no pressure or anything like that, just a genuine conversation. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you like my videos and you'd like to support me, I'd really ask and really appreciate it if you could like the video, if you could subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications. That lets YouTube know that people are interested and you'll be able to see more of my content. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.